What's up, y'all, and welcome back to Dad Needs to Talk. I'm your host, Robert, and today we're diving back into some Akane Banashi with chapters 36 to 41. So it's been a little bit since I had read Akane, and I feel like that worked out in my favor. Because while of course I love and I adore this series, as y'all heard me talk on and on about in my previous video I did about it. Um, Something about getting to enjoy this series in a nice binge, a nice chunk of chapters, just makes it that much better and that much more sweeter than what it already is. And like I said, my timing on these chapters couldn't have worked out any better because of the little arc that we are currently on that happened in these handful of chapters. So, pretty much, we finished up the end of Akane's week at the backstage training and stuff that she was doing with some of the other apprentices and stuff. But her little stunt, which I of course loved, that she pulled at the end of chapter 35, where she kind of took some jabs at, I believe his name was Ray or Rain, something like that. That she kind of like mixed in some jabs into her performance. Well, that has kind of come back and has been biting her in the butt over these last few chapters. Um, because it was also seen as like, while some people are like, hey, we get what you're trying to do, but what you did was also a huge sign of disrespect. And that led to a lot of roadblocks that Akane has currently been dealing with. But one thing I will say though is that after her performance, she had another kind of a elder apprentice step in by, let me see if I can get his name, Rokuro Kashiwaya. Now he kind of rolled through because the guy Rain, he was gonna make some mention, or basically he was about to get on Akane about like, yo, okay, you think you funny, da 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 da, and then this dude come through and he's like, yo, so you gonna try to use your rank to try to keep like the new apprentices down like you normally do and stuff. So he kind of helped stand up for Akane, but before he left, he kind of told Akane basically like, yo, what you did, you don't know the pots you have stirred, basically. Let me see if I can get what exactly he has said. But yeah, it was basically just like, hey, you ain't got a clue what type of mess you are starting. Let me see. Do 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 do. Yeah, okay, yeah, he said, yeah, you shouldn't do what you did today again. Throwing stones that both sides can't laugh about is simply disrespectful. You're going to earn more grudges that way. And so that line comes into play a little bit later. But I like his whole look and his whole vibe. Just kind of like that chill, kind of cooler senpai, so to speak. But the funny thing that Akane discovered, or they kind of came to light, when they were kind of like wrapping up the little week of training, was the lack of performances that Akane knows. Because one of the guys was basically kind of going over with her like, hey, this is basically how the days are kind of structured when it's like, like a bunch of people going leading up to the big headliner at the end of the day. There is basically no two people can perform the same Rakugo, and also certain genres or whatever you also can't duplicate or whatever. So basically, I guess for like a better term, kind of like doing two thriller stories back to back, so to speak, whatever, or within a certain time frame, and they kind of use a fan, the length of a fan on the schedule. That is how long between certain themes you can do. So and this isn't one to one, but let's say it was like a comedy, a horror, something else, but then until like the fifth or sixth, then you can maybe do a comedy again. But yeah, so that was kind of interesting, that kind of coming to light, and I kind of loved. They did this kind of a Dragon Quest uh themed cover for one of these chapters called and they titled the chapter Rokugo Quest. So I just thought this was just like a very cute uh cover for that chapter that they did. But yeah, Akane is truly setting out on a new journey. Stories. So basically, she's setting out to learn more stories. Cause like I said, it was just hilarious when she named that the 5 stories that she knows, and they were kind of like, "Is that it?" And so basically, they kind of go over the rules and details on how a lot of this stuff kind of works. And through learning that is something else that kind of got brought up as well, is people going out and learning stuff from other masters and stuff as well. Um, because basically the way it was kind of mentioned is that there is a set of stories like horizontally that you learn, but then there's also vertically difficulty levels for each one. And certain difficulties you can only perform once you've reached that level of a Rakugo performer. So all these details and stuff were just, like I said, just very interesting. Like I said, it's just like one of those other finer details that I enjoy about this series is the fact that they go into these nuances and explaining how all this stuff kind of works. And like I said, when they reveal like, oh, she only knows 5 stories, it was like, yeah, you're not gonna get far with only knowing those 5 stories. Uh, but yeah, and so I just love the whole. Let me see if I can just show part of this real quick. How they just kind of just like use this whole like video game theme and analogy again, just to kind of just to kind of like illustrate the point of going to different places, learning different art forms and stuff of Rakugo and stuff, and also the whole thing of going to different masters, because some people just stick with one master and learn how they do things, but other people also take what they learned from their master, start broadening out, learning bits and pieces from other masters, and then basically using the sum of all of that experience to make their own unique style and things of that nature. So Akane thus sets out on starting to learn other performances and stuff, whatever. And this is kind of where what she did, her stunt that she pulled, begins to bite her in the butt, because she goes to learn from another master or whatever, or she goes to like their performance house, so to speak, whatever, where she's still there kind of helping set up with the prep and stuff, whatever. And she ends up enjoying the story that he did, and she ends up coming to him after the show. She's like, "Hey, master, will you teach me this?" And he basically is like, "I respectfully decline." And then when she kind of continues to push, basically like for an answer, like, "Hey, why? I want to learn." And he basically is like, "Because of that stuff that you pulled, I cannot trust somebody like you with basically carrying on this story of mine, basically my legacy. I can't pass it down to somebody like you who would be so disrespectful um, of another." Because what did he say? Yeah, I respectfully decline. Yeah, I do not wish to pass on that craft to someone who would pull a stunt like that. So, yeah. And yeah, and so then she ends up going to the guy who is kind of like the head of the house and being like, hey, uh, do you have any openings and yada yada yada. And then he's like, no, for the 10 days that you're going to be here, I have zero openings, because once again, that stunt you pulled, nobody is going to want to go on stage after you basically kind of kill the air, because there's rumors going around of what you did and how you handled that situation and stuff. And so that's where things start to get like really dicey and stuff. But that is also where we kind of get a reintroduction to a character that we kind of saw before. A few chapters ago, when we kind of get like the look at like all the current Rakugo masters in this area and stuff. The lone female master, Arana Ransaka. Uh, I just loved her whole look, her whole vibe that we got. But yeah, so we got introduced to her as well as her apprentice, Mayura Ransaka as well. Cute young lady. Uh, but yeah, so we get to see the master again, and this is kind of like where things like really kick up a notch, because just her whole vibe, like everybody falling head over heels for her and everything. Was just very dope to see, because when Akane comes back to the house that day, because basically she called in and she was like, hey, to the guy over this house, or this performance house, and being like, hey, we're gonna change the schedule. Basically, I'm gonna be the headliner tomorrow. And so when Akane comes in, there's a line going down the street, around the building, down the street. And Akane is like, what is going on? And they couldn't find out it's this lady is here. And fans are sending her gifts. People are infatuated, just head over heels. And even her presence when she comes out on stage, she just like the crowd was like, whoa, we love you, shouting and cheering like she was like a rock star. And she just gave them a look with no words and just silence. She got them in line with just a look. And so then the master that had turned down Akane on teaching her his story earlier, he was standing there with Akane while they were watching Aurora began to do her performance. And he basically begins to give a little bit of backstory on who she is and what her whole deal and vibe is. Um, because we basically learned the like darker sides of the history of Rakugo that a lot of people don't talk about. And one of those things a lot of people don't talk about is the fact that originally Rakugo was saw as a male only profession, and that any women they got immediately turned down. If any woman got approached somebody to be an apprentice, she got turned away. And if she was lucky enough to get a spot on stage, people in the audience would just immediately get up and walk out on the show. Just horrible. And that all changed when one of the greatest Rakugo performers of the era, Shiraku Ransakai, one of the greatest performers of his time, of the 20th century, was a big stickler of like, no, I'm not teaching, or women don't belong here, as well as he also had no apprentices, because that was one of his other epithets, was Shiraku the Unteaching. I love that. That is such a dope and ominous epithet. But that all changed when he met Aurora, and basically he just became immediately enamored by her and took her in as his sole apprentice. And she carries on his style onward, but his stories and style she took, but then she also added in her womanly charms because it was mentioned that because Akane mentioned that her master had kind of mentioned that to her, that like, you can basically kind of like use your womanly charms to kind of like sway the audience and whatever, but typically she was kind of taught to kind of like dial it down a bit or whatever. But Aurora, she's like, no, we're gonna crank it up a notch, and you're gonna be completely infatuated with me. Um, to the point. Let me see if I can find this panel because it was just so freaking dope. But man, the the artwork on her and just like I love the visualization of like she cranks her stuff up so high, her presence, her infatuation, to where she truly pulls you into the setting to make you feel like you are seeing the setting of the story. But that was a very beautiful panel. But the one I love the most, which made me think like yo, is this Kubo or are we in some Bleach Hell Arc stuff? Cause yeah, basically they called her her sensuality. Uh but yeah, it says that yeah, she bewitches the audience, and she is the true master of these stories. And it says she is the courtesan from hell. And yeah, it is just that spray was just very unexpected, but very dope. But I enjoyed a little bit of conversation she had with Akane before, you know, before she went on stage. But then she basically was like, "Hey, just stand to the side and basically, hey, watch me work." Um, and so I just feel like this is just very dope that in this moment where Akane kind of is, she's trying to figure out more stories and stuff, whatever to tell, but she's also in some hot water because of the stunt that she pulled at her last performance. That she meets this woman who was also a game changer for the whole world of Rakugo. A woman that's basically just like been a trailblazer, a true master of her art. And so I am very interested to see how this potential relationship ends up going and growing from here. I wonder if will it be some things that Akane learned from her, or maybe some things Akane would teach her. But either way, these were a fantastic set of chapters. Like I said, Akane Banashi, chapters 36 to 41. Uh, like I said, it just continues to be super dope and super awesome. And can't wait to keep on reading it. So, but I think that's going to do it. This one went a bit long, but like I said, it was just a lot of like key points and stuff I wanted to talk about. As well as because I forgot to mention earlier when I mentioned Rokuro, he is also a kind of like a golden child as well, because he is the only student for his master's school. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. Let me see. Now that was chapter 36 that they had mentioned that. He is the only apprentice of Moroku Kashiwaya. And he is the sole national treasure of the current Rakugo world, also known as the Wonder Child. So that dude has a lot of weight on his shoulders. But anywho, I'm very excited to see like what things him and Master Aurora have to teach Akane in the current arc that is going on. But that's going to do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for watching and or listening. If you enjoy these chapters, and if you're just enjoying Akane Banashi in general, let me know in the comments below or hit me up on Twitter, wherever at Dad Needs to Talk, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Y'all be easy. Peace.